We're in the midst of a machlokes and a question on the order of the avoda, the service. And our Mishnah, which said that the Kohen Gadol was preparing for the 7 days, he would do the avoda, he would do the service in the Beis Hamikdash, and it gave the order of what he would do, and it seemed to say that he would burn the ketores, let the smoke go up from the incense, and Meitiv Haneros set the candles, which indicated that the candles were first. Sorry, the ketores was first, and that's a contradiction to the Mishnah, the order of the Mishnah in Talmud, which we said, okay, so that's our Mishnah is the opinion of Rabbi Shimon Ish HaMitzvah. Fine, but the problem is that in our Mishnayos as well, we have in Yoma itself, in the order of the avodah of the Beis Hamikdash for the morning, it has the setting of the candles, Meitiv Haneros, and then the ketores. So the first answer the Gemara gave was that actually there's 2 times that the Meitiv Haneros. First, 5 of the 7 candles are set, or he cleans them out and fixes the wick and sets it, and then it does an avoda, a service, and then another 2 after that. To which we have machlokes as well as what is done in between. We have the opinion of Abba Shaul that in between you have the dam hatamid, the spritzing of the blood of the tamid offering, and which would also not fit with our Mishnah. But we have Abaya, a statement in the name of the Chachamim, that actually the Hatavas Haneros was split, the fixing of the candles was split 5 first, then the ketores, and then the other 2, and that would fit with our Mishnah, where here it says that he would do the ketores and complete the fixing of the candle, of the menorah, whereas later when it says they would take the lottery it says what that was done in each set. So there also is talking about taking out the ash of the menorah and then doing the ketores. That's talking about the first 5 candles. Now, where does Abba Shaul? What is the basis for Abba Shaul? Is where we're up to. Of where does Abba Shaul know that we split the 2 the candles, the preparing of the menorah, 5 first, 2 after, and that you do the dam hatamid, the spritzing of the daily tamid offering in between. Yes, Mike.
So what's bothering the Gemara here? Because, Yom Kippur is Yom Kippur. It's a special day. All the avodah was done by the Kohen Gadol, and if the Seder was slightly different, it's the gezeres. What's bothering the Gemara really? Okay, so it's
got it. So you're asking, maybe Yom Kippur is different, right? So the Gemara is asking, is it different? And if so, where do we know that? Where's that from? It may be that Yom Kippur was different, that he was preparing for that, but he was doing it every day. And then we have a later order. If it's different, tell us where it is. And we're actually going to see machlokes later on as to the various parts of the avodah was split differently, different opinions of how they were split, because the Kohen Gadol would have to do his avodah, the daily avodah in the golden clothes, right, the clothes that were colored, and the Yom Kippur avodah he would do in the white clothes, and he would switch back and forth. First, he would have the year-round clothing, the gold clothing, then the white clothing, and then back to the gold clothing, and then the white clothing, and then back to the gold clothing. And what was done in each one, and what the order is actually machlokes. So you're right that Yom Kippur is unique, and there could be differences. But the Gemara is asking, what were those differences if they are there, and where do we know them from? The Gemara really is asking. Here it says one thing, there it says another. What's going on? And it's perhaps at some point we'll see where there could be differences for Yom Kippur. So Abba Shaul says that you do the five Hatavas Chamash Neras, the 5 first candles, then the then something is a break, which he says is the spritzing of the daily Talmud blood on the Mizbeach, and then the last two candles. So my time with Abishol, this is on Yudalit Amid Base 14b, 3 lines from the bottom. My time with Abishol. The Chsifra, it says, "Babeker betivas haneros yaktirena." Each morning, this is on the Ketores. Baboker, each morning. When you fix the candles, when you make good, is literally the translation. Beitiva, when you make good, meaning you fix, you clean out, and you take out the ash, and you reset the candles. And then it says v'hadar, and after that yaktirenu, you're going to bring the kataras. So from the fact that it says in the morning, you will set the candles. That tells us that setting of the candles is done in two parts in the morning. Baboker, it's done at some point, some of it. Baboker, and then some of it. And by Masara we know that it's first 5 and then the last 2. So we know that it's split, and that answers your question, Eric. And we know that the candles are setting is split because it says baboker in the morning. In the morning, you will set the candles. And then, but Abishol says, and in that split, you wouldn't do the katoras because it says after that, yaktirenu, you're going to bring up the incense. You're going to burn up the incense. So essentially, Abishol says, it says you set the candles, and then only after that the ketoras. My Rabbanan my kama. And what did the Rabbanan say? My kam Rachmana. What does the pasuk say? Be'idan hatava. Now we're at 15a at the top. Be'idan hatava. At the time that you're completing the fixing of the candles, tehei mukta keteris. The keteris is already burnt up, and so when it says you split the making of the candles, the fixing of the candles, and then you're going to smokify the incense, burn up the incense, it means in that split, by the time you're done, it's already burnt up. And we can prove that. It means already done. If you're not going to say so, in the evening, you're not going to be able to explain it. And in the evening, we know for sure that the lighting of the menorah is going to be after the burning of the incense, even though it says the same words. The Chsifra, it says, when Aaron will light up the candles, then in the evening, yaktirena, he will burn up the incense. And over there, it means already done. And there, can you say that he first lights the menorah candles and then he burns up the incense? Cannot be. That he brings the evening incense. And if you can tell me why not, maybe. Now, Tani, we learned it says by the menorah that he will light the candles from the evening until the morning. And now the mitzvah is to be done by day still. It's yet a day. It hasn't turned night yet. And he's lighting it so that it will burn from the evening until the morning. And it's unique over there. One, the halacha is one is to tell you that it has to have enough to burn on the longest night from the evening until the morning. And the second idea is and this is the only thing that is kosher to be done at the end of the day and last through the night. Meaning everything else has to be done in the daytime prior to that. So we know the menorah is the last thing to be done because that's that's what leads into the evening. The menorah being the last of the avodas. So the ketoros has to be done before that. And yet the wording is, and when he lights the menorah, he will burn the incense, meaning the incense is burning. So to over here in the setting of the menorah in the morning, by the time he's completed the setting of the menorah, the incense is already burning. And so what? How do we interpret the pasuk? At the time of lighting the menorah, the ketoris is already burning. At the time of the completion of the setting of the candles, the menorah is already burning. And Abishal responds, now there it says that it he will light it from evening to morning. So this is the only thing from the evening to morning. So therefore, the Torah has to mean that the menorah is last. But generally, we don't say that. Okay, so this is the machlokas. Abishal says you set the 5 candles, you split, and you're gonna have to put something in that split. So that's going to be the spritzing of the daily Talmud. And then you complete the last 2 of the setting of the candles, and then you burn the ketoras. And in our Mishnah, which it says that he burns the ketoras and then sets the candles, is according to the opinion of the Chachamim, where you in between the 5 candles being set and the last 2 candles being set, you burn the ketoras, and so therefore the Kohen mentions in our Mishnah ketoras first, and then the setting of the candles, and then the rest of the avodah. Rav Papa, he goes back to saying, well, there's no question really over here. What's your question? In the order mentioned by the Kohen Gadol, it mentions that he burns the incense and then he sets the candles. And later on in the lotteries, it says that the second lottery was for setting of the candles, and the third lottery was for the ketoras. So our Papa says, our Papa like Kashi, no question. Harabanan Abashol. They may be, our Mishnah is the opinion of the Rabbanan, and the later Mishnah is the opinion of Abishol. So Gemara says, wait. So what you're saying is that our Mishnah is the opinion of the Rabbanan, who say that you do the incense, the ketoras, and then the setting of the candles. And later, the Mishnah talks about the lotteries and the order of the lotteries, the pious. That's talking about the opinion of Abishol, where the ketoras is done after setting of the candles. So our Mishnah here is the Rabbanan. Pious, and the later Mishnah of the lottery, Kabashol, is like Abishol. Well, Ein Miseifa. Well, then we run into a problem because the end of that Mishnah will not work like Abishol. Ein Miseifa, V'yolei Satamit. They would bring him the carbon tamid. So the Kohen Gadol, who had to on Yom Kippur do all the avodah all by himself. So he had a team of kahanim who would help him out because he had to do every part of the avodah himself. So they would bring him the tamid offering, the morning lamb that was brought as an oila, which was the daily offering. Karza. He began the shechita. He did the first part of the shechita enough that it's kosher, but not completed. And then he would hand Marakas Shchita al Yadin, and then he would hand off the rest of the Shchita to be done by the Kohen to complete it, because he has to then do the next part of the Avodah, which is the receiving of the blood in a vessel. He has to do that on his own. So he hands over the Shchita knife and then grabs the vessel to receive the blood. And then Nichnas Lahakter Sektoris Lehetem Haniris. He goes in, he burns the incense, and he sets the candles. Wait, so in the order of Yom Kippur, after it says what the lotteries did, it says what the Kohen Gadol did, and it says again that he burned up the ketoras and then he set the candles. Asal Rabbanan, and that would be the opinion of the Rabbanan, not Abishol. Reisha. So our first Mishnah here is the opinion of the Rabbanan. Then later on, the last Mishnah that discusses this is the Rabbanan. And in the middle, we have a Mishnah of Abishol, a Metzias Abishol. That doesn't seem right. Al Papa in Reisha V'Sefer Rabbanan Metzias Abishol. Yeah, that's what we're going to have to say over here. That the first Mishnah is the Rabbanan. The next Mishnah that deals with this is the opinion of Abishol, and the last Mishnah that deals with this is back to the opinion of the Rabbanan. And as unlikely and unsystematic that is, that's what it is. So the Gemara says, okay, so we know why Abaye wouldn't say the opinion of Rava as the explanation of the contradiction of Mishnayos, because it's not logical. It's not reasonable to say that the first and last Mishnah is according to the opinion of Abishol, the Rabbanan in the middle is Abishol. Mishnah Ma'abai L'Yom Karav Papa Reisha V'Sefer Rabbanim Mitzvahs Abba Shol. I don't want to say that. He doesn't want to set that as the order of the Mishnah, so therefore he says that it's all done according to the Rabbanan, and it's just talking about it's talking about the first set of 5 candles that they were setting, then the Ketores, and then the last 2. Ela Rav Papa, my time, but Rav Papa, why didn't he explain like Abai? After all, according to Rabbanan, we have an easy explanation. In our Mishnah, it's talking about the completion, the last 2 of these of the setting of the candles. So when it says the Ketores and then setting of the candles, it means first he would do 5 candles, do the incense and the Ketores, and then the last 2, and that's why it says the Ketores and the setting of the candles, the last 2, and then and then the next Mishnah, which talks about the lottery. In the second lottery, it says who would clean out the candles and from the ash and from the previous day. That's the first 5 candles. And then the Ketores is the next one. And when it talks about the Kohen Gadol as well, it's talking about the last 2 after the Ketores. So we have an easy explanation because of the split. Either way, when a Mishnah says first the setting of the candles, then the Ketores, it's talking about the first 5 setting candles. And when it says Ketores and then setting the candles, it's talking about the last 2. Tana Bereisha Hatava Shtei Neiros, V'Hada Hatava Chamas Neiros. So Rav Papa says, I don't like that explanation. Because in our Mishnah, what does it say? It first says that the Kohen Gadol would burn the incense and then do the candles. So what did we say? The last 2. Then later on in the Mishnah, when it says the lottery, it says that he would do the first 5 candles in the second lottery, and then the third lottery was the incense. That's out of order. Our Mishnah should first mention the setting of the 5 candles, the Ketores, and then the setting of the last 2 candles. Why does our Mishnah over here talk about the last 2 candles, and then the next Mishnah, which talks about the lotteries, tells us about the first 5 candles? So that's out of order, and that's why he doesn't want to learn that interpretation of the Mishnayos. Abai. So how does Abai respond to that? Over here, we're just telling you that he's going to do the service. He doesn't tell us the order. Here he's not really busy with the order, just saying that the Kohen Gadol was doing some of the avodah. So it mentions the Ketores, which is an important avodah, and the completion of the setting of the candles, which is an important avodah. Later on, when it talks about the lottery, that's when he talks about the order. And so in the lottery, the first set talks about the 5 candles, and the next Mishnah talks about the last 2. And the Sidra, the Seder, the order is what he teaches later, and so therefore this is not a contradiction or a question why he talks about the last 2 candles here, because really over here he's not bothered by, he's not focused on the order. Here he's just telling us that the Kohen Gadol does parts of the avodah as a part of a preparation in the 7 days leading up to Yom Kippur, and which avodas he would do. And it mentions the Ketores, it mentions setting of the candles, which are done after, at least the 2 are done after, but he's not really focused on the order itself. So back to the avodah of the Yom Kippur, of the Talmud. It said that the Kohen would go to the Mizbeach, and he would come to the northeastern corner and spritz the blood, come around to the southwestern corner and spritz the blood. And then we had the other opinion of Rabbi Shimon Ish HaMitzvah that he would spritz on the 2 sides. So a little bit about the Mizbeach is necessary here. When one would come in to the courtyard, to the Azara of the Beis HaMikdash, he would come in from east to west, and when he would come in, the Mizbeach would be to the southern side of the Azara. We'll see there is a machlekes as to all the way south, or it is sort of midway, but because it's so large and the ramp is so large, it would be on the south, but it was on the south side. And so coming in from east to west, you come in facing the either the corner or the side of the Mizbeach, and essentially the northeastern corner is where one would see it. On the north side of the mizbeach of the azara, to the north of the mizbeach was where the shechting area was, where the shechting of the daily tamid and many other karbanos which had to be betzafon on the north, which was on the north side of this mizbeach. So you come in, you're looking at the mizbeach, either the center of the mizbeach or the northeastern corner of the mizbeach, and the to the right is the shechita floor. The southern side, if you made a left, the southern side would be the ramp. The ramp is a really long ramp going up to the top of the mizbeach, and off to the side of the ramp is a ramp about midway that comes out off of the ramp. Then it has a ledge going around the entirety of the mizbeach. When a kohen would come up the ramp, he would always walk on the right side. Besides the kohen gadol walked on the center, the kohen would walk on the right side, and every turn would have to be rightward. So he would turn off the ramp towards the right. If he was on the top of the mizbeach, anything he needed to do, he would turn to the right and then counterclockwise walk around the mizbeach. And if he walked up the ramp to go on the ledge, also he would walk off to the right and turn towards the right. So essentially, coming from south, that's where the ramp was. He would be walking northward up the ramp and turn to the right, meaning turn to the east, and then counterclockwise walk around the mizbeach. So he would encounter the the southeastern corner of the mizbeach first, northeastern corner of the mizbeach, and so on. Now, the mizbeach itself was on a base, so the base protruded only on 3 corners. The rest of the base was directly beneath the mizbeach. There was an amma, let's say 1.5 feet base that protruded at the northeastern corner and went along the entire north side, the west side, and turned in at the south western corner, and that's the only places that had the base coming out. So these are all relevant to this coming out Gemara. Now let's begin the Gemara. Gufa. So let's analyze the statement itself. He would come, it said that he would come to the northeastern corner after having shechted the korban on the northern side of the mizbeach. He would come out, he would walk eastward towards the opening, towards the entrance of the courtyard, and to the northeastern corner of the mizbeach. And there he would spritz one spritz that went to the north side of the mizbeach and the east side of the mizbeach, and then he would walk around to the maravis the romis, to the southeastern corner, southwestern corner. Maravis the romis, and he would spritz once that would go over there. But Tani Allah, Rav Shimon Yeshar Mitzvah, and on that Rav Shimon Yeshar Mitzvah said, Mishnah B'Tamid, that he would change the Talmud order. He would come to the southeastern corner. So he would come to the northeastern corner, and he would spritz there once. That went onto both sides, and this is called a single that becomes a double, because when he spritzes once, it goes on 2 sides, and he fulfills the obligation of both sides of mizbeach being filled. However, on the southwestern corner, maravis deromis, he would do 2 separate spritzes on the south, on the east side, on the west side, and the south side. Now, my time of the Rosh Hashanah Mitzvah. What's the reasoning? Amar Rabbi Yochanan. So Rabbi Yochanan said, "Mishum Chad Debei Rabbi Yanai," in the name of one of Rabbi Yanai, the Academy of Rabbi Yanai. Amakra, it says in the pasuk, "Usir izim echad lachatas lashem alo lasatamid," and one goat as a chatas offering for Hashem upon the olah, the daily olah, the constant olah, meaning the daily olah. Now, the daily korban was an olah, and yet the Torah says that he will bring a chatas upon the olah. So the drash is that the daily olah was also partially brought as a chatas, as a sin offering. The chatas offering was spritzed by walking up the ramp, and each corner got its own single spritz. Each side got its own single spritz. the tamid, the ola was done on the floor of the azara, on the northeastern corner and the southwestern corner, one spritz that split on both sides and became two. So if it's a chatas upon an ola, well, then we have to somehow make the spritzes be somewhat chatas, somewhat ola, and that's what's going on here. Olahi, it's an ola, so it has to have a single spritz that splits into two. And yet the Torah says treat it like a chatas, meaning a spritz on each one of the walls. So how are you going to do that? So therefore, on the northeastern corner, you do a single spritz that splits into both sides of the walls. It splits on either side, and therefore you get one that ends up on two walls of the mizbeach, like the regular ola, and shtaim, and then on the southwestern corner, he's going to do one on each side, like the chatas, kamaisa chatas. The Gemara says, why? Why do that split? Why not split and do both? Do an ola kind of spritz on the southwestern corner as well, and then do repeat and do on each side like a chatas. Do complete set of two spritzes, which equal four, meaning two spritzes on the opposite corners, and then it spreads on both sides of the wall, and so you get all four sides spritzed on. And then and then go ahead and spritz on each side like a chatas offering. If you're saying it's a chatas and an ola, so do them both. No, the spritzing of the blood is what atones. And we never find that you do one set of spritzing and then you need to do another set in order to atone. So Gemara says, so what if you don't find it? Maybe that's what the Torah means here. After all, we also don't find what you're doing. Do we ever find that you do half like the chatas and half like the ola? No, we don't find that either. And what's your answer? Right? Well, that's what the Torah tells us to do here when it says that it's a chatas and an ola. So to here, we're going to say that the Torah told us to do this the same. So Gemara says, now, Hasam Pisuk Mataras Ba'almahi. If you here, it's splitting it into two, and so you see chatas and ola. There, if you're going to do the same thing over again, you've already done one. It doesn't indicate that you're doing the chatas as well, and so it wouldn't be doing chatas upon the ola because it would look like you already did one, and so you have to split them. Some of the spritz with two sides like a ola, two sides like a chatas. So where it says okay, well, if you're going to do like an ola, so it makes sense. You spritz on the northeastern corner like the ola offering gets one spritz on both sides. Kamasa ola like the ola offering, and then shtaim shem lamala, and then let the coin go up onto the ramp and put the other two not from the floor of the courtyard, but up on the ledge around the mizbeach, that's where he would do the chatas. Let him do that up there. If you're treating it like a chatas that he's doing a spritz on the eastern side and a spritz on the southern side, separate, not a single spritz that splits onto the two sides. Well, that's chatas like. Well, do it like a chatas up above on the ledge on the upper part of the mizbeach. Kamaisa chatas. So it says, no, that never happens. You never do half on the lower part of the mizbeach and half on the upper part. And it says, really, well, we find later by the Avodah of Yom Kippur that it would spritz, the Kohen Gadol would spritz and count 1, 1 and 1, 1 and 2, 1 and 3, and he would spritz, and it says 1 upward and 7 downward. So seemingly 1 up onto the top of the curtain and 7 down to the lower part of the curtain. So you see you spritz up and down. So the Gemara says kamatzliv. There it was not. It doesn't mean that he actually spritzed up and down. It's just which way his hand was, what the direction of the hand was. One with his palm upward, and 7 with the palm downward, but he was spritzing at the same place, or right near each other. Tessa says at the same place. Rashi says right near each other. My matzlif, and what is matzlif? Machvar Rav Yehuda. Rav Yehuda showed it with his hands, kamenagdina, like someone who is pounding something. Rashi says that it was somebody who was giving lashes. Yeshanim says that it's someone who was using a hammer to precisely hit on a piece of metal. Either way, it is it's a way that the hand would be held. That's what's going on. It's not spritzing upward and downward, but rather the position of the hand being upward when spritzing towards the down, meaning the palm is facing up and he's spritzing downward, or the palm is facing downward and spritzing down. So Gemara says, really, Veloy? He's not spritzing up or down? Vatanan. Well, what about this? A part of the spritzes were also done. So there was a spritz done facing the curtain, the paroches in front of the Holy of Holies, or the Kodesh HaKodashim, and then it also spritz on the golden mizbeach, the mizbeach that's inside the Kodesh itself, between the menorah and the shulchan. Set back a bit is the mizbeach, the golden mizbeach, which usually the ketoras went on, and over there it would spritz, and over there it says hiza mimeno al tahara shel mizbeach, that he would spritz from it onto the taharoi of the mizbeach, the tohar of the mizbeach. So what does the tohar mean? Normally it means purity, but it was also a reference to noon. That's the purity of the day, the midday. And it says it was spritz sheva pamim 7 times in. My lav apagin mizbeach. Wouldn't you say midpoint of the mizbeach, meaning some up and some down? And he was aiming for the mid of the mizbeach. Like people say that the day became pure, or the noon became pure. That's half day. Amar Rabba Bar Shela. It doesn't mean that. Rather, agu for the mizbeach. It means onto the mizbeach itself, that he would clean the center mizbeach from the ash of the incense, and that's where he would spritz onto the center of the mizbeach. As it says, like the heavens themselves being pure, meaning that it was clean without clouds, clarity. So too the mizbeach was cleaned out. But in any case, the idea is that it does not mean he spritzed upward and downward, but rather his palm was upward or palm downward, but he was spritzing to the same spot or close to it. So the Gemara says, why was he first doing the spritz like the Ola offering, which is the northeastern corner, one spritz that's spread onto both sides, and so that's like the Ola. And then he went around to the southwestern, according to Rabbi Shimon ben Ish HaMitzvah, and he would do it like a chatas. Why not the other way around? So the Gemara says, given the Ola, because in essence, it is an Ola. The daily offering, the Talmud, is an Ola offering. So really, it should be done like an Ola. So he does the Ola. And then the comparison to the Chatas, the additional part of the Chatas, he's going to add that on. But the main part, he cut memoration, and that's what he does first. Now, Mashna the Yov Mizrachas. Why does he spritz on the northeastern corner? Umarav is the remis, and then go down to the southwestern corner, which is true both according to Rabbi Shimon and the Chachamim. Nasiv the remis Mizrachas v'adas marav. So why not the southeastern corner and then come around to the northwestern corner? Amri oilotuni yisayid. So the reason is because the spritz of the Ola blood has to be above a yisod with a base of the foundation, the base of the mizbeach is protruding, and the remis mizrachis, and as we mentioned, the southeastern corner has no base. Only the base is only protruding on the northern side and western side, and the corner of the northeastern side has a little bit protruding, and so too on the southwestern side. So those 3 corners are okay for the Ola, but the southeastern corner has no base, and you cannot spritz it there. It doesn't have a base. And why did he do the northeastern corner first? And then the southwestern. Why didn't he go to the south first and spritz on the southwestern corner? And then come back up to the northeastern corner. And the basis of this question is Tosfos has questions, and the Rishonim asks, why asking such a question? Why would you do the southeastern corner first? And essentially, there are two reasons that are possible here. Why the Gemara would ask that the southeastern corner should be first. The morning Talmud was shechted on the western side of the Shechita wall, of the Shechita area. So once he's on the west, let him just go down the western side to the southwestern corner, spritz it there, and then come up to the northeastern side. That's one reason. Because the way he does it now, he's coming from the western side back to the east side of the Mizbeach in order to spritz. Michael, 1 second. Then what it seems from Rashi, a different explanation, the reason why this is a question, is because he actually had to go to the south side in order to begin his process. He would first shech the animal, receive the blood, go to the south side, which is where the Kohen always began the approach to the Mizbeach. And at the south side, he would then have to come up. So once he's at the south side, why not go to the southwestern side and begin right there? So that's the question. And Gemara says, Michael, what was your question? Sorry.
There's a very compelling reason why it makes sense to do it exactly the way the Mishnah says and start in the southeast or in the northeast and then move to the southwest, because after he did the Zrika in the southwest, he has to dump the rest of the blood in the drain, which is in the corner of the southwest corner.
Correct. And yes, the Gemara does not answer that question. Yeah, good question. Yeah. So the Gemara says the Amar Mara Kapina Shata Paina Lo Yael Derech Yamin LeMizbeach. Every turn has to be towards the right. Which if he's coming from the south, turning towards the right is eastward. And so that's why when the Kohen would go up the ramp, as we mentioned, and then go off onto the lower ledge ramp in order to spritz the chatas, it comes from south, he's coming towards the north. And since you're always turned to the right, so he'd be turning eastward, and walk around the Mizbeach, the ledge, that way. So even when he's on the ground, on the floor, and he's not on the ledge, he's also going to come towards the south of the Mizbeach and walk up the eastern side, which is the turn to the right, and then he's going to walk around counterclockwise around the Mizbeach. So therefore, LeMizrach, his Beresha, he's always going to head from the south towards the east first. And therefore he encounters the northeastern corner first, and that's why he would start there and then end in the north and end in the southwestern side. Now, the Gemara is now challenging the entire idea that, according to Rabbi Shimon ben Ish Mitzvah, the idea is that since the Torah says it refers to the daily Talmud, which is an olah, as a chatas as well, or a chatas upon it, that you have to add some sort of spritz that's like a chatas. Maybe it's the other way around. Maybe we're referring to a chatas and you're going to treat it like an olah. How do you know it's talking about the olah that you will treat it in part like a chatas? Maybe it's the other way around. Find a certain chatas that you're going to treat like an olah. So the Gemara says, no, that doesn't make sense. The Sifra, it says, upon the daily olah, which is the morning olah. So it's clearly an olah that is being, in addition to it, being treated as a chatas. What is the Torah saying? Place upon the chata, upon the olah, a treatment of chatas. Tanan also. So we learned over there. Amar lehem amamuna, the mamuna, being the deputy Kohen Gadol, said to them, "Tzuve tilu tle milishkas beis hatlayim." Go ahead and bring a lamb that has been set aside, that has been checked from the tilayim, from the chamber where the lambs were. So they had a chamber, as we're about to learn, in the upper floor where the Beis Hamokad, which was a large room that the Kohanim would have a fire going at all times in there to keep it warm. As Rashi explains, the floor was stone, and they will walk around barefoot, and so that to warm themselves up, they would have this room, the Beis Hamokad, and off of the Beis Hamokad were 4 chambers. And one of the chambers was the Beis HaTlaim, was essentially a pen for the lambs. And this chamber was on the northwestern side of the Beis Hamikdash, of this large room that had the fire in it, and the Kohanim would sort of like the Kohanim lounge. To the northwestern side was where the lamb chamber was. And there were actually 4 chambers there. We're going to learn now the first version and the contradiction we'll see tomorrow, and that's this Gemara asking the question that we have contradictions in the Mishnah and Talmud, another contradiction in the Mishnah and Talmud. So what were these 4 chambers? One was the lamb, the chamber, the pen for the lambs. One was the signets, the seals that they would give as receipts for people who paid for something to go pick it up. And one was a smaller chamber that had another small fire going. And one that was a chamber that had the lechem apanim, the showbread being made in there. So these are the 4 chambers coming off of the main lishka of the Beis Hamikdash, the fire room, the room that sort of a lounge with a fire going. And we're going to have a contradiction, which we'll see tomorrow, that it seems like these chambers are different order than what this Mishnah says, and the responses as to what was going on. What was the layout